Greetings, everybody. This is Christopher Messina coming at you not only from the Messy Time Studios, but also from Heshy Tischler's Sukkah in Brooklyn. Today, we have a delightful special edition on the 9th of October, 2002, and it's the new year, 5783. What's the date now on the Jewish calendar?
5783.
Yeah, what's the day? What's the day?
I'm sorry. It's who knows?
Who knows?
10. It would be 14. I don't know. What do you want from me?
I'm just asking. So today in this very, very special edition, now with 5783 is already looking pretty up for a range of reasons, but we've got the midterm elections and a lot of different stuff happening in 30 days. And what I wanted to talk about with my dear friend Heshy is sort of how do or can we overcome what I view as the triumph of the professional political class. They have successfully made themselves so insulated from removal, even at the time that the general population has the lowest approval rating of these people in potentially American history. What is there to be done? People don't bother to vote. They don't get involved, and then they moan and cry about the stuff these politicians do to us. You've been trying to fight this fight directly as a potential elected representative for a few years now. And kind of what's your diagnosis? How have they managed to do this to us so badly?
I walk the streets and people give me their complaints from their cars being taken. Oh, what is the mayor doing? The mayor's been in business already for a year. Nothing has changed. From the homeless, from the mental illness. I mean, he's now wants $1 billion for the, for the immigrants that are being brought into over here.
You're welcome. We sent those from Florida. Congratulations.
No, but we could have been prepared. We had options. We have places. They don't want to be prepared. They just complain and tell everybody else to do the job. Other states, right. They tortured Florida and Texas. And when you said, you know what, we're tired, show us what you can do. New York, I'm embarrassed, couldn't do it because you didn't listen to us. And we did have plans. We did some more plans. And our politicians that are running for office, they got all us guys who want to compete against them. They take us to court. They sue us, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, and get all the new people who want to get on the ballot, who want to get elected. You can't even come out to vote for us. So these guys are running pretty much unopposed, and they do nothing. New York is lost. I hope the country has better results in the midterm elections. I'm hoping the Republicans come in. I am ready and prepared with a professional team for city council in January to start and March signatures. And this time I'll be so prepared. There's no way they'll get me off the ballot. But we're dead. I'm sorry to tell you, Chris. Our hospitals, I was telling you, if you go visit the hospital now, not that you have to be COVID tested, with those tests when you walk in, they actually want you to have a COVID results that you actually took a 24-hour test, or you can't come visit your relatives. And again, it's a one-on-one fight. I'm winning the one-on-one, but a lot of people are being turned away again from the old age homes. It's ridiculous. I walked into Queens City Hall, where the Department of Buildings was on Friday. And the lady is screaming at me, "Where's your mask?" I said, "Are you joking? There's no more mask mandate. All city buildings need it." They gave me a mask. I walked in, and of course, I took it off. I walked over to the counter where there are 15 inspectors doing nothing, by the way. I'm calling the phone. I'm watching them not pick up the phone. Then I'm seeing them, one of them with a mask, and I'm arguing with them because I pulled a number, a ticket. You have to have a ticket. My ticket was N602. The number up there was N601. You have to understand there was nobody in the waiting area. 20 minutes later, after me arguing, they called my number. They told me I have to go down the hallway to drop off a paper. I said, okay. I went, I dropped off the paper, I came back. The guy tells me, "Where's your ticket?" I said, "The number is still there, N602. There's nobody here. Go get another number." And I start screaming.
Go get another number.
I swear I was going to film this. I'm just stupid. I didn't film it. And then when I start to argue with him, lower your voice. I said, "I will not. Where are your masks?" "Oh, we don't need masks. Where's your mask?" I said, "For sure I will never wear a mask. Maybe you have the wrong guy." And this is like 3 hours later, I finally get some chief inspector to talk to me. He says, "You did everything correctly. All your paperwork is fine. You're talking, this was like 150 pieces of document over 4 months. That's why I had to drive there, because they don't take your emails or calls." And Chris, you're going to love this. They said, you're missing a certificate of correction. I said, look, I emailed it to you. They denied my certificate of correction. They're saying because you have to come down and inspect it. Now, I had 4 different agencies already inspect, and we passed all the inspections, and we signed off the jobs. This is an inspection as a technicality to lift a finished product to unvacate the building. Well, you need to have the certificate of correction. I said, look what they wrote. They said, well, go tell them to call me. I said, they're your building department. Just pick up the phone. No, you have to go there. They wanted me to drive from Queens to Manhattan to talk to the lady, to call them and come back. I swear.
Yeah.
I don't
But
curse.
this, I'm sure this is an entertaining tale that could go on forever. We can make misery out of your agonizing pain.
But this is the way the
But
politicians
this
act.
is the way it works. And this is what I find absolutely mind-boggling, is that everybody who encounters an indifferent and aggressive and entitled and unaccountable public bureaucracy gets frustrated, angry, and irritated. Yet 95% of those people don't bother to go vote. And how do they not make the connection between the person that's on the ballot is the one that sets the policy that makes me, the building owner or the contractor or whomever, or the car owner or whatever, have to jump through all these insane hoops, or I get fined. There was a piece, well, there are multiple journalistic articles about the absurdity of the New York City building codes, which are epically designed to just steal money from building owners with no recourse. You are able to show up and fine you for whatever reason, and all of these things. This is what I've been wrestling with both on this show, but in general, in talking to people for years now. Is I think I relayed this, that when we lived in Australia quite 20 years ago now, we ran into a young American couple who were also there, having been expats. They were working for Colgate or something, whatever, but they were from northern New Jersey. And the point was, they both came from pretty big families. They each had a couple hundred people in their extended families in northern New Jersey. And when we were discussing politics, they both said, "Oh, I don't vote. Nobody I know, no one in my family, nobody that I know votes." I looked at them. I said, "Why not?" So, "Oh, it's just what they do." But I'm like, the taxes you pay are set by the people that you're not bothering to vote for or against. Like, it's not just some abstract thing. Like, they affect your life. And they looked at me kind of strange, like, "Oh, well, I mean, yeah, I guess." How has the political class managed to insulate themselves from the basic reality of representative government, such that they laugh and you try to run against them?
You don't have to.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars keeping you off the ballot, and no one seems to care.
They don't represent the people. Remember, what they do is, the politicians, they bribe the churches, the ministers, the imams, the priests, the rabbis, and they promise them. And these guys go to their congregations or their people or their communities, and they say, listen, don't go vote, or vote for this guy only because he's going to give me something. And that's the problem. A lot of people say, hey, I did what you said and nothing happened. And then when they promised to lower the taxes during COVID, 18% increase in our taxes.
Right.
And you think that the building fines are a joke? They've tripled and quadrupled, and they're torturing you. And it's not only for the building homeowners, businesses. Remember when we told you that all those businesses that got fined during COVID for letting people in? I had one lady.
That was nuts. Yep.
Where a lady called me now, because I thought it was all over. They promised to remove it. A lady called me, "I have a criminal ticket, Heshy. I'm going to court tomorrow." This was 2 weeks ago. "And they said if I don't show up, there'll be a warrant for my arrest." I said, "No, those are dismissed." She said, "No." And I actually had to send her a lawyer down. We went to court. The judge dismissed it as a plain violation with a $250 fine. And let me tell you what the violation was for. That when during COVID, she had 2 people in the store at the same time. Now, I swear.
That criminal, murdering, horrible person.
Right.
She should be in jail forever.
And I couldn't believe that the judge even gave her the fine. But again, we were happy to get away with $250 plus the legal. I represented her for free, not me, my lawyer. But again, this is still going on, and people are scared.
Crazy.
And I told she says, "I'm scared. I don't want to go." Even they they shiver when there are problems. They're shivering that they might get not they might get some of their PPE money, or a lot of people today when they got their PPE money, their special money during
Right.
COVID.
Yeah.
Well, now they're sending out letters that you had to show us that you could have worked, or you had a job, or you could have gotten a job. So it doesn't make sense. Every place is closed. How do you expect them to get a letter that they went for an interview during COVID? Really, people came to me. Can you
That's
give me
fabulous.
for an interview? I said, how did I? I was open, but the truth of the matter is all the other places were closed. Otherwise, they have to give back all their COVID money. And this is our political climate. So you think something's going to change in New York? I'm praying that Lee Zeldin gets elected.
How can people put up with this? I mean, having left New York for America years ago, now they live in Florida, where there's a bit more involvement, but the government is fairly responsive to the people's wishes. I mean, all the absurdity of the lockdowns and all this nonsense never happened here. There was like a 2-week half-hearted effort in March of 2020. And the Floridian people told the governor, "Yeah, you should shut my company, shut my business down. You and what army? Like, as DeSantis himself said a couple of weeks ago, Florida is a strong Second Amendment state. If you ever wanted a better proof of the citizenry's break on government, we're living it here in the last free state in America. The government has a very light touch, and they certainly don't go persecute people and bombard them with this nonsense. I can't imagine a Florida state official placing themselves in physical harm's way by trying to deliver that kind of nonsense to a store owner. I wouldn't. That would be a brave man to walk into a Florida store and say, "Oh, remember that thing from 2 years ago? And you dared to have 2 people in your store while you're facing felony charges." He'd be lucky to walk out of there. That's madness.
We're crazy, and they call the police on us, and sometimes the police cooperate with them. A couple of weeks, about 2 months ago, I had an inspector that came into a building where I told him he can't come. I said, you can't come, and I warned him twice. They've come a few hundred times trying to torture these people. And finally, at 6:30 in the evening, I was going to leave. I just was called, and I left. Usually they don't work. And I was sitting there texting, and I was busy. And the supervisor comes, and he pushes his way in. I said, you can't go in. You forgot the amendment, the Fourth Amendment, that says you can't even come in, even if there's a safety issue without a warrant. And he pushes me against the door. And I fell back, and I bumped my hand. I didn't really care, Happens to be I cut my hand, a little bit of blood. He called the police, said he bumped his head, and I had it all on video.
Oh, I saw that video. That was phenomenal. What an idiot.
They arrested the inspector and ended up, they let him go on disorderly charges. Bad people. And the guy who came to my house who tried to beat me up from Black Lives Matter, they let him go. Now the federal prosecutors are trying to get my videos because he attacked a few other people. I said, me, you didn't care about. Now that he continued doing this crime, and Chris, shootings daily, murders daily,
crazy,
killed, mental illness. I don't want to talk about the rest of the city or the rest of the country. I have 150 overdoses in my community.
Crazy.
I have 117 suicides, and the year is not over. And I know you're telling me, oh, Heshy, those are very small numbers.
Not those small numbers. Every one of those is a horrible tragedy. First off, it's a drag that you've got someone who is so unhappy in their lives, they're taking drugs to begin with. And then the fact that the overdose most likely, statistically, is from the fentanyl pouring across the Mexican border as part of the closed border and nothing happening here that the Biden administration is trying to tell us about. It is, we have entered into a bizarre new era where, as many comedians have said over the years, the politicians in Washington lied. I mean, I'm comfortable with that. I'm used to them doing that, right? But it used to be small lies. Millions of people are pouring across our border while they tell us it's not happening. Fentanyl deaths are skyrocketing. And it's not just the fact that the border is open, because this country is built on immigration. Some of the cleverest people I know have stories about, their great grandparents who managed to fake papers from Odessa and get here, and like the moxie it took to get here. So all that's kind of okay. But we're pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into the hands of cartels in Mexico.
Billions.
Who are smuggling drugs and children for sex across the border. So none of this seems to matter to the people in charge. And if you bring it up, they look at you like you're crazy. So every one of those deaths on your streets and those overdoses is coming from south of the Mexican border,
But
and
but
I don't care.
but the mayor wants for the 1,700 new immigrants that we got $1 billion to
$1 billion.
housing. Yeah,
Do you know
yeah.
what a great life you could give 1,700 people for $1 billion? I mean,
They're gonna swallow.
where do they come up with these numbers? What is he building for them? Gold-plated mansions?
No, he's giving the money to his buddies and friends, and 300. I mean, come on, the governor's friend got some $300 million contract during COVID for the shots.
Oh, that was awesome. There's a video for walking into his townhouse on the Upper East Side. Yeah, this Ukrainian sleazebag who came here and set up these for-profit hospitals. Oh yeah, oh that's awesome. Yeah, Hochul is just a magic. So I had hoped that obviously Rob Astorino was a better candidate for governor, I thought, than Lee Zeldin. I can't imagine how the Republican Party chose Lee. Well, I'm sure he's a nice enough guy, but
Yeah,
like not a street fighter in any way, shape, or form. And he's going up against the most bare knuckle, dirty pool gutter fighters in the country. He's gonna get wiped.
I know. I hope not. All I can tell you is that I like Giuliani. You know, I loved Andrew.
Yeah.
He was a guy who screamed and hollered and said what he had to say. Lee's a politician. He's trying to say the best he can. Truth of the matter is, he will do a 10 times better job than
Of
Hochul.
course he
But
will. I
Hochul
hope
played.
people wake up enough to go vote, even just from a standpoint of, even if you're a New Yorker and you're a lifelong Democrat, right? History and empirical data shows that nothing is worse for a state or a country than one party rule that goes on and on. Because without change, the corruption just gets entrenched and things get worse. So even from that standpoint, if you're a rank and file Democrat, you should go vote for Lee Zeldin. Just give him 4 years.
I know.
You're going to be better for it. You got Hochul in there after how many years of Cuomo? She was never elected to anything.
She never did anything. She never opened her mouth. She still hasn't stopped all the mandates. She now took away mandates right now from the public transportation.
Madness.
But still, we still have masks in City Hall buildings, and she doesn't do it. She came into my neighborhood, in a neighborhood where she was surrounded by religious men in a little short skirt. Not that I care. Went into a thing, and she actually, I think, bribed them or whatever. I don't say the word, whatever. Promised them stuff like you never saw before. And when it came time for Zeldin, a lot of these big politicians to show up. The people came out. The kids came out. The adults came out for him. But again, when Hochul was here, all the politicians came. They took her to a religious store. Again, they played the game well, and they have the big men paid off or promised money, and they're going to tell their people to go vote for Hochul, and it's going to be terrible. I hope midterm elections, I'm praying that we switch parties, that we take at the House, and whoever
it's like spring cleaning. Just switch for 4 years. See what happens. You can go back to complete Democrat rule again later. What's the problem? It is crazy to watch.
I know. But my murders are up. My robberies are up. You know, there's a new thing. They're stealing catalytic converters. You know what that is? It's from the whatever.
What is it?
In front of us, right in front of your houses. And the police are supposed to be patrolling even the good neighborhoods. They're stealing them. And it's like, and now they're coming out. Oh, let's do something about it. We've been telling you about it for months.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah. But they don't have robberies because murders and shootings. And they keep telling me that crime is down. It must be zero already with all this crime down every year, but it's never down. It's up.
Just nuts. The video of that woman getting stomped by that evil man who, when he was younger, murdered his own grandmother. How, first off, in a rational society, he'd have a trial on Tuesday and we'd hang him on Friday. How? And he was out on no bail for other violent crimes. It baffles me. And my friends in Florida and Texas, because they know that he used to live in New York, they call me and say, I just saw this thing on the news. Is that an exaggeration? I said, no. Why was he out of prison? I said, buddy, I got no idea. Like, who is this DA that George Soros, who personally is surrounded by bodyguards all day long, who is this clown that decides to let violent offenders out with no bail? Who then, I mean, this poor woman was just coming home from work. Some scumbag on the subway wants to talk to her. She ignores him, and he beats her, stomps on her head, and it's caught on video. And Bragg is kind of like, well, what do you mean, well? Your system let him out. There's no well. He was arrested. He should have been sitting in a prison cell already.
Right.
How are New Yorkers putting up with this?
Come on, watch the video how a young guy attacked a police officer right there, punching him, banging him, and nobody went to help the police officer. They just let him keep beating him. I mean, we're busy with our attorney general going after Trump, suing and fighting
Crazy.
and criminal charges, when we have drug dealers, murderers, crime. This is what she's busy with. We're busy with Trump, but you're not busy with all the other things going on. Mr. Adams, busy with stupidity. Again, and there's a think tank that said that I think Adams put a judge. Well, after 1 year, nothing has changed. We know that. I've been saying that. Everybody's been saying that.
Of course.
Mr. Adams said he's making things better. He keeps getting on the news. I don't see it better. I don't see crime better. I don't see the economy better. But prices are up. And yes, gas came down, I think, $0.50.
Oh, I love them crowing about gas, because they took it from $1.85 in January of 2021 up to, like, well, someplace in California it's like $9 a gallon. Here it's something like $3.90, $4.10. So it comes down from $3.90 to $3.40, and they're like, look, gas is getting cheaper. I mean, how do they live with themselves?
I know, and that's what they're busy with, taking credit when they don't deserve any credit. And I'm talking even the local politicians across the city. They have done nothing about homeless. AOC, our worst Congress, I don't know, is she really a woman? Whatever, just does whatever they want, And I'm not going to fight with your audience, but transgender. I mean, they actually think they have rights. Now, I'm not taking away any of their civil rights as a living human being. But if I tell you not to, I mean, we had, you want to hear this? We had a guy who's a transgender who married a man somehow, looked religious, like a rabbi and a woman with their hair covering and everything.
Right.
They adopted a baby. She then went for an interview to a religious school.
Right.
And they paid her as a teacher.
Wow.
Found out a week into her teaching that she's a transgender.
Right.
They could fire her. There was a problem. All the politicians said, well, you made a mistake. Well, she tricked us. Well, she doesn't have to tell you what gender she is if she's coming for an interview. Really? When you fill out your application, you don't have to write woman, man, teacher, Mrs.
Wow.
They had to pay her a year. She had a lawyer ready to go, a public relations guy. Come on, she's a teacher, or he's a teacher. And they had to pay her. Thank God, somehow they got away with a 1 year salary. It was an expensive school to get rid of her because she actually was teaching.
Right.
And nobody even, and the person they asked, how did you not notice that she's a man? He said, no, she looked good. She spoke good. I by the way.
I mean, but I'm always kind of curious about this, right? Because in terms of, was she actually kind of post-operative? Like, had she actually become physically a woman? Was this? I'm just kind of curious to how you.
I'll send you a picture. She's married.
Right.
She posts pictures of her husband and her and the baby.
Right.
With the hair, the dress. We see pictures before and after. I'm not sure if she did the operation.
Right.
But they live as husband and wife. They have a marriage certificate.
Right.
They have everything. So I don't know what to tell you. I mean, we were all in shock and religious. I'm not talking they have nobody in the community even knew about it till right now that it's spread.
Right.
So they played us well. And again, everybody was scared of them. The politicians, our politicians were scared to deal with it. And they told us to deal with it ourselves. And we did. We sat down, negotiated. We got lucky because otherwise you would have had to sat there and renewed the contract and whatever. But our city of New York, we're lost. We're busy fining, ticketing, arresting the young people.
Crazy.
Motor is torturing us. Health department is torturing us. They're just
And all these bureaucracies, and this is what I think most normal people who are living their lives, just if you ask them, to the extent that they pay any attention, what does the Department of Buildings do, right? And having lived and worked in third world nations, not pejoratively, just the fact that they don't have a lot of money to enforce kind of building codes to the extent they have any, right? You can understand why some building codes are necessary, right? I mean, if you've been in places where there are not good building codes, for example, in America, you have to be able to get out of every building you're in, right? Any door that's locked, there has to be a push bar so you can leave. Not that you get in, but so you can leave in event of a fire or whatever. There are plenty of places around the world where that's not true. Like you can get locked into a building, right? So in general, the idea of building codes are good, but I think what most people fail to realize is maybe in smaller towns and smaller communities, the kind of engineering or municipal building department is actually there to help you make decisions about safer building, but not in New York. They're there to steal money from you.
They tell you,
period.
They tell you this is your violation. We tell them, what do you want us to do to fix it? We can't tell you. Figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
Do you know that we still have COVID restrictions, which means we have to have COVID books and logs on the sites explaining to our workers about COVID and keep a log. And if we don't, those fines are $5,000 per person. I mean, come on, man. They give us violations for handrails that are not done per code. We said, but the job is not finished. They give you violation that if you didn't finish your job and your permit expired because of what the city did to shut you down, so you don't have the money to continue, so we put the job on hold.
Right.
We said, well, since your job is on hold, we're giving you a violation because you didn't close out your job. We don't want to close out our job because to refile the job with the city is another year and more problems. It is crazy. They give us violations for having the letter on the plans wrong. And one supervisor threatened me, like Trump. They threatened the Trumps that we clicked off the wrong box, and that is a felony. I said, you know what? You can. I don't want to tell you the words what I told him. Paris. I said, you know what you can do right now? Felony, come and arrest me, you idiot. Well, you submitted the documents. I said, you're not going to lift my job. We're going to continue working.
Right.
And find them 60, 80, 100,000, not 2, 3,000.
Right.
And these guys are just crying. But I'm fighting him. I'm going to win one day.
Crazy.
Wow. But we're going to fight back. I'm going to celebrate this holiday with my new grandson, which I hope will be.
Mazel tov. That's the best thing ever.
Any minute. We're 9 days overdue, but they're in the city. They're standing by, and they're not going to be by me.
Maybe it all goes smoothly.
And we're gonna. I know that people are frustrated. Yeah. I know that people are getting back. I had a truck for one of the organizations taken away by the sanitation police. We have sanitation police. We have building department.
I love
police.
that. Garbage cops. We can't lock up violent people who attack people, but we've got cops on the payroll of the sanitation department. That's just
right. Special cops with a special unit, and then sanitation that I like.
What are they doing? Stopping people stealing garbage?
It just, if you illegally dump, or if you dump in a can and you have your envelopes, that's called illegal dumping. What are you talking about? It's a can I dump or my office leftover. That's what it's made for. It's public stuff I have. Right. I'm not bringing it to my house. But yes, some people dump a little illegally, and they're out to. They set you up. You know that if you throw out an air conditioner in front of your curb, so it's garbage.
Right.
So if I come to your house, Chris, and pick it up, it's illegal. They can arrest me and tow away my vehicle because that garbage belongs to the city. They set you up. They put out air conditioner or boxes. People need these boxes recycling.
Sure.
So when you boxes, people pick them up and sell them. They tow away your car if they catch you taking recycling stuff from other places. That's what they're busy with. And I had to get back a donation truck because somebody was throwing away garbage from their thing into the local cans, and it costed me $8,000 to get that truck back. Otherwise, I'd have to go to a special sanitation court.
Sanitation court. That's like the chapter heading for a Kafka novel. That's just madness. I think one quick point I want my listeners to be aware of.
Bell, you hear the bell?
Yeah.
That's a bell sounding for the community. That ding, ding, ding. We're ready to start the holiday.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I want to keep you much longer. Last kind of thing I wanted to raise. You brought it up about Letitia James and
Yeah.
Trump, right? Is that what? And it baffles me. What baffles me about this is her entire quote unquote case is that the Trump administration, I love this, lied. They can only use the word misinformation for everything they talk about. But when it comes to Trump, he lied. And what he quote unquote lied about was supposedly inflating the value of buildings or whatever when asking for a loan, right? And first off, the entity to which he lied, quote unquote, about this, the building that someone thinks is worth $800 million, but he said was worth $830 million. That's basically the quote unquote crime she's going after. The victim in this crime is Deutsche Bank, which is a multinational bank that has a suite of bankers who make their decisions about how they value the collateral, the building, right? So like her entire premise is that a billionaire's real estate company said a building is worth $830 million to a bank to get a loan. The bank looked at all that information, did their own research, and maybe in internal meetings they said to each other, well, I think the building's worth $798 million, but we really want to do this business with the Trump administration, the Trump, organization. So we're going to make the loan for $300 million. Like, normal people don't understand how private banking works, right? That's not a lie. That's an assertion of value. And the bank can decide to tell you, no, it's not worth that, or it is worth that. But in any event, the entire thing is an institutional level commercial decision. No New York State taxpayer has been defrauded in any way, shape, or form. In fact, if anyone might lose money, it was the shareholders of a German bank. So New York State taxpayers would be rational to ask themselves, why am I spending all this money to go after a real estate company based on its loan discussions with a German bank? How is this serving my interest right now? And the fact that people don't ask that question and keep voting these clowns into office is incredibly disheartening. The city is circling the drain. The state is bankrupt. People are fleeing to come to my state, as I did 10 years ago. New York's my home. We love New York. We miss New York.
I don't want to go, but I'm thinking, garbage, filth, homelessness on the streets, robberies. I'm fighting. We're fighting. And again, like you said, this bank, forget that Mr. Trump himself had to file, or whatever the real estate company had to file, documents and accounting papers, and 20 different people had to sign an appraisal, and the bank did all this. Remember, Atisha is thinking, look, the way the taxes of the city is, that they assess the buildings at a lower value, so the taxes are lower. Right. But it's not true. It doesn't work like that. It's what I want to sell my building at. The city says my building is worth $1 million. I say it's worth $2 million. That's what I'm going to sell it at. I don't care what the city says.
Of course, it's what the market says. That's how free choice works.
DHCR, we have a new thing that they changed the law now in 2014. They changed it in 2018 you can only backdate your rentals till 2014, and you can't. If anybody complains about their rent, they could sue you for overcharging, even on free market apartments, because you didn't follow the rent board guidelines. It's crazy. I mean, they don't want to give us a break. They don't want to give us, but if you go to Mayor Adams' apartments or Bill de Blasio's, or all the real estate that those people own, you know that they're doing whatever they want to do. I don't know. I know that I know the codes. I fight my rules. I could win and you could win, but we're not here for us. We're here for the other people, and I'm going to continue fighting. and I'm going to continue trying, and I'm not giving up on my city. I know we're in trouble, and I'm hoping Lee Zeldin wins. I'm hoping Mayor Adams gets a brain in his head, even though now he doesn't know who I am, but he will. And if not, maybe we'll get somebody else next time. I don't know.
hope so. I sincerely hope so. It is
So
so
much.
sad to watch.
I'm coming to Florida to visit you guys
You
sooner or
gotta
later.
come to Florida. It's where all the happiness is happening. It's absolutely, it's craziness.
I want to get.
Well,
I want that pina colada on sitting on Miami Beach, and I want to laugh.
you gotta bet it. We'll take you out in the swamp. We'll kill some gators. It's a lot of fun. Really great. It's just a huge amount of fun. But Heshy, I'm gonna wish you a wonderful, wonderful Sukkot and have a wonderful time. And sorry, I'm not gonna be there. We're gonna go pop down the street where there's one set up for us. But until next time, my friend, it is so great to have you on. And I'm just shouting out to all the voters in America. Get involved. Of course, I think you should vote rationally in one way, but I would rather you at least make an informed choice that goes against what I believe. At least you make a choice and you vote, because right now with voting rates in some places like New York, like 11% of the registered voters bother to go vote. This is why the city's in trouble, because they feel empowered to abuse you all because you're not going to do anything about it. You don't bother to go vote. So I urge you to go vote. I urge you to get involved. That's all I can do.
Happy holidays and a happy new year to you and everybody out there.
Amen. You too. Take care.
Bye.
Ciao.
Learn what Bitcoin is, how it works, and why it matters. Bitcoin 101, your ultimate guide to the fundamentals of blockchain.